Bienvenue everyone, I'm Ariel with Urbanist, and right now we are right by the Tiber River in Rome. We're going to explore some of the most interesting looking places in all of Rome, from the famous Spanish Steps all the way to the Piazza de Popolo. But today we're starting right by the Tiber because there was a monument that was buried beneath the mud of the Tiber, right enclosed in this beautiful modern structure made by Richard Meyer. So welcome everyone, I'm Ariel with Urbanist, and let's walk around Rome. This is Mysteries of the Eternal City, Episode 5. Hello everyone. Well, a few episodes ago we talked about Julius Caesar becoming the heir, the first person to shift the Roman Republic and set the course for the Roman Empire. However, Julius Caesar was merely a dictator in perpetuo, which means a dictator for all eternity. That didn't last too long, as many of you know. But his heir, Augustus, who was formerly known as Octavian, became the very first emperor of Rome. However, Augustus saw himself as a god, and he deified himself while he was alive. In order to deify himself, he needed to build his own temple, which ended up being the Ara Pacías. And the Ara Pacías was built right by the Tiber River, a very influential place, because there was an obelisk sundial right in front of it. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Ara Pacías. Inside this very modern looking building, a few questions. Why is it inside this modern looking building? 2, how is it so intact? And then 3, what's up with Augustus? Why was he so set on becoming the first god emperor of Rome? Well, for that, let's walk around the Ara Pacías. We can't go inside because they don't allow video inside, but I'll be showing it to you from the outside. Later on, I'll be posting photos of how it looks like inside. So here is the Ara Pacías. I'll show it to you from the outside over here. And this dates back all the way to 25 AD. Actually, a little bit further back than that. Just a few years further back than that. 25 BC. And this was built when Augustus was still alive at 50 years old, declaring himself a god amongst men. This was very unprecedented because you were supposed to become a god or deified, at least in Roman times, after you die, not while you're alive. Gods don't live in flesh and body. They transcend after they shed their flesh and body, similar to the Christian religion with Jesus Christ. But no, he wanted to become a god amongst men, and so he built this Ara Pacías. But it's beautifully intact. However, it used to be in 3 different cities. Yep, this entire monument used to be cut up into 3 different pieces. This reminds me a whole lot of how the Temple of Dendur is presented at the Met. And I think the Temple of Dendur is inspired by how the Ara Pacías was exhibited when it was first found deep in the muds of the Tiber River underneath us. So here it is from a little bit farther away. Hey Lynn, hello Lou, hello Madeline, hello Denise, hello Gretchen, buongiorno, hello everyone, welcome. Nice to see you here. Alright, let's walk around. This is the Tiber River. Almost no one comes and hangs out in the Tiber River. I'm not entirely sure why. Still have to find that answer. Try searching it on Google. There was no articles on it. Seems like it's not a hangout. It might be because it's very muddy. And I actually rather cross the street and show you. And yes, the Ara Pacías used to be in full bright colors. Thank you so much, George. That'll be awesome if you can post those photos. Here's the Tiber River. And let me know if I'm speaking too loud, because it is very loud around me, but I'm not sure if I'm overcompensating because I have this new mic. So this Ara Pacías was buried underneath the mud of the Tiber River. I think that's one of the main reasons why no one really hangs out along the Tiber, as opposed to the Seine River, where there's always people hanging out about. There's a bunch of restaurants on boats. This restaurant is completely closed. It seems nearly abandoned. I think one of the reasons is because it's very muddy, and very muddy attracts a lot of mosquitoes, and a lot of people don't like hanging out around places where there's a lot of mosquitoes. That's one of the reasons why the Ara Pacías is so well intact, because by the 1915, around there, German archaeologists found pieces of the Ara Pacías sticking out from the ground. They kept on digging. However, there was a structure right above the Ara Pacías, and they could not excavate anymore because the excavation site started drowning underneath water. This was bad news, because if the structure fell, then the entire Ara Pacías, this beautifully intact temple, will collapse, destroyed forever in history underneath the muds of the Tiber River. So they waited. 1938. They've developed a new technology to freeze with nitrogen, pump nitrogen into the ground, freeze the mud underneath the structure, and they started kind of carefully excavating the structure around it. Since it was frozen solid, it was hard like a rock, it wasn't muddy, and then they started digging up the Ara Pacías. This was great news, because by 1938, the government that was in control was the notorious Benito Mussolini, the socialist turned fascist who took over Italy. Benito Mussolini inspired a whole lot of fascists right before World War II. You could say Benito Mussolini might be the reason why we had a rise in fascism. And we'll talk a little bit more about that whenever we see more Benito's monuments. But Benito Mussolini inspired one particular fascist that saw himself as the heir to Emperor Augustus, the God Emperor. That wasn't Benito Mussolini himself. He was a powerful man. He believed that he owned as much power as he could. But he didn't see himself as a god. But Hitler did. So Hitler was going to visit Italy. Italy and Germany had an alliance. And Hitler was doing a tour of ancient Rome. And as he was doing a tour of ancient Rome, Mussolini wanted to take him right here, because he knew that Adolf Hitler fancied himself as the heir to Emperor Augustus to reign in the next 1,000 years of the Third Reich. So Benito Mussolini built this huge structure around the Ara Pacías in order to protect it, because it was still on shaky ground. This structure was the one that predates the one that we're seeing right now. That structure was the grand centerpiece of the Ara Pacías, and also the grand centerpiece of another monument right next to us. Don't worry, I will be posting photos of the Ara Pacías after this broadcast. You can see the beginning afterwards. Underneath this museum, underneath the Ara Pacías, there you pay admission to see the Ara Pacías. Highly recommend it. But underneath it, there's an amazing exhibition about Emperor Claudius. It blew my mind. The reason I was 15 minutes late was because I went to the museum, got utterly distracted, lost track of time because I was utterly in awe. Highly recommend. Come here, come to the Ara Pacías and the Emperor Claudius exhibit. This is the mausoleum of Emperor Augustus. Dates all the way back to 25 AD. So these two locations, the Great Mausoleum to the Emperor Augustus, that actually was laid in ruins for centuries. The Visigoths came here around 400 AD, ransacked. They sacked Rome. It was the first major sacking of Rome. And they stole a bunch of urns and a bunch of goods that were housed inside the mausoleum. After that, people kept building above it, kept taking stone away from it. So parts of it is lost to history. But most of it's still standing. It's being currently repaired and remodeled by the same museum. So they're soon going to be the same museum together. So the structure ended up being lost, as George said. By 1984, it wasn't no longer here. But it still couldn't be left out to the elements, such a treasured site. And also they wanted to make a nice museum around it. So in 1996, they held an exhibition competition in order to see which architect could build the best enclosure for the Ara Pacías, a new enclosure, something that would kind of contrast beautifully with this monument. The architect who won was one of the architects that we have talked about in Urbanist before, in Hidden History, when we talked about the Palazzo Ciuppi. Around the corner of Palazzo Ciuppi are these beautiful, huge white towers made by Richard Meyer. Richard Meyer built this enclosure, known for his iconic white geometric lines and color. Now, Richard Meyer, I think, did a great combination of combining both. And also, it kind of reflects how the Met houses the Temple of Dendor as well. Let's walk around and see and show you the mausoleum. So that is the Ara Pacías, and we're going to walk around to see the mausoleum. The original design had those pointy trees on top of the Augustus Mausoleum. Interesting. Pointy trees on top. Oh, I gotta see that in order to kind of visualize it. That's the thing. A lot of these monuments are constantly always changing, so there's always new ways of showing these monuments and the surrounding areas as well. Hello, Václav. I'm so happy you can tune in live. Here, ladies and gentlemen, as we start making our way to the Spanish Steps, is the beautiful Augustan Mausoleum. So this is currently being remodeled, should be opening in a few months. You can see how he saw himself as a god, because this mausoleum is on a truly massive scale compared to most mausoleums from the emperors. It's almost on the scale of the Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is, much taller, but this built out of stone and it recedes deep into the ground. So it's a huge, huge structure. So today we're going to sit on the Spanish Steps, and let's make our way to the Spanish Steps to sit on them. Wait. You get €400 fine for sitting on the steps. So today we're going to stand on the Spanish Steps. Let's go. So Tuba, that was what I just showed is the mausoleum of Emperor Augustus, the first ancient Roman emperor who was a successor to Julius Caesar, according to his will. Emperor Augustus consolidated power very efficiently with the help of Marcus Agrippa. We saw Marcus Agrippa's name before on top of the Pantheon. And he ruled until he died at the age of 77. So I'm going to take a small detour. I'm going to show you an amazing pasta place that I highly recommend coming here during lunch. It's not open for long, and great coffee as well. So right here, go to Café Monte de Oro. Great coffee. And this place, Monte de Oro Pizza, is absolutely amazing. I'm going to refill some water so we can get hydrated for the Spanish Steps. So we walk 135 steps. It's closed by this time, but during lunchtime, great pasta. I had a great fettuccine al tartufo, which means fettuccine with truffle. Truffle's in season during October. Hello, Michelle. Welcome. Oh, I actually wanted to show you one other building. So one other detour. I was amazed by the structure. Is this clean water? Yes. The water here is very clean. The fountains are always constantly kept clean. People don't let their pets, drink from the water fountains as they do in New York City. So in New York City, I really don't recommend people drinking from the public water fountains. Here, that is not the case. People are very respectful of the water fountains, and they tend to be, the water tends to come out very cold. So it's really great water. It's very normal for Italians to just take a drink or refill their water bottle. You'll see tourists doing the same. I would be getting everything with truffles. Likewise, it's a little bit hard to find. So I haven't seen that many restaurants with it, but once I saw fettuccine al tartufo for a mere €7, I was blown away, and it was one of the best lunches I've had so far. It was completely Italians right there. That was not a tourist spot. Tourists don't know about it. It barely has reviews on Google Maps, but highly recommend it. So I actually wanted to take this detour because I want to show you some architecture that still remains from Mussolini's era. Mussolini wanted to kind of make monumental architecture, sort of on the scale of what you see with the mausoleum, kind of these structures that feel huge, imposing. And this is one of them, though I don't know too much more information about it. I tried to find some, couldn't find anything. But I do recognize the artwork that was very popular right at the late 1920s, early 1930s. This kind of mosaic work. And there we see the symbol of Rome, Romulus and Remus, being suckled by the she-wolf right below. That's the god Roma. Hello, Kerem. Bienvenidos. All right, let's go to the Spanish Steps. Now, this area of the Spanish Steps is one of the most expensive areas of all of Rome in terms of shopping. It's almost like the Fifth Avenue of Rome. So we're gonna see a bunch of awesome clothing shops. But right next to the very expensive clothing shops, there's also very inexpensive thrift stores. And I just got myself a souvenir, 2 really cool scarves for wintertime. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions as we're walking to the Spanish Steps. Look at this. Another more Mussolini era structure, architecture.
We are free.
Hey, a friend of mine says Lou is named her daughter Romilia after him, after the god Roma. Oh, that's so awesome. Romilia. This is the first time I've ever heard that type of name. It's cool. José, fuimos primero a un templo de el emperador Augusto y ahora vamos a las escaleras españolas in Roma. We're going to the Spanish Steps in Rome right now, going along one of the most expensive streets. The church we saw from behind is Basilica de San Ambrogio e Gallo. So we're going to learn a little bit more about the Spanish Steps. Not much history between now and the Spanish Steps, which is about like a 3-minute walk. So feel free to ask me anything about Rome. Can I stand behind some Italians for a minute? I'll be quiet for a minute or two so you can hear Italian. Let's do it. Let's go. This is Via de Corso, which runs all the way to the Victor Emmanuel Monument. And here we are, Via de Condito. Via de Condito is the 5th Avenue of Rome, the most expensive street there is for shopping. All the top Italian fashion houses have stores here. We just saw Fendi. We're going to see many, many more. George, you say when we arrived to Rome, we went to the Spanish Steps in the evening, and we were in the plaza beneath the steps, and there was a police shootout in the middle of the dense crowd. George, man, I'm so sorry to hear that you have such bad luck in these landmarks. Though that was Rome was a much more dangerous place back in the 1980s. That's changed significantly. I feel very, very safe now walking around Rome. Oh, look at this. My kind of street. Yeah, likewise. I agree. Here's Tiffany & Company. So some New York here, which is nice. show you some window shopping. If you recognize any of the stores, let me know. Okay. Similar to New York City, yeah. I mean, a lot of people say that the world is in turmoil. I disagree. You come to places like New York, Rome, even Paris, definitely London. They have changed significantly since the 1980s. I wasn't alive in the 1980s, but I've read the history. And also, I've read the statistics of crime, and they've deeply decreased. Hey, your friend married Mario Busilati. Might be mispronouncing that. That's so awesome. Who is he? Is he one of the fashion houses? Wow, look at this. Beautiful building. Look at that beautiful yellow color. It's almost urbanist orange. That's weird. 3 Navy men. They all look Chinese. I wonder what Chinese Navy men are doing here in Via Condotti. Gwen, you went to Fendi's. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I mean, can't blame you with all this beautiful clothing. Now, pro tip, just around the corner on the Via del Corso, there's a few stores that are selling sample sales. That means they sell clothing from these top fashion houses at a quarter of the price. So here is one of the top fashion houses, Louis Vuitton. Now, something interesting about Italy. Italy might not be the top producer in the European Union. It's one of those countries that's kind of on the negative, where they get more benefits from the European Union than putting back. However, Italy has some of the biggest brands in all the entire world. We're seeing a lot of them here that have conquered the world, some of the most expensive companies, and they have probably the largest stake in the $70 billion fashion industry, with names like Bulgari, which restored those Spanish steps right down there. Other names like Gucci, Prada, Fendi we saw earlier, and many, many others. And that's very interesting because it's similar to the US, where you have these brands that are just on a global scale. Everyone wants a Gucci. I mean, people all around the world want a Gucci. Not everyone, but people all around the world. People in China want a Gucci. People in India want a Gucci. It's very popular. You're also going to see a lot of Chinese tourists here because in China there is a culture of now a new culture of kind of opulence. There's a huge new high class in China, so a lot of tourists come over here to buy these very high-end Italian goods. And that's very interesting that this country has kind of produced these huge, massive brands, not just in fashion, but in cars and a few other industries. Now let's approach the Spanish Steps. But wait a minute, aren't we in Rome? Isn't this Italy? Why is it called Spanish Steps? Well, it's called Spanish Steps because every country has an embassy. Well, a lot of countries, not every country, but a lot of countries have an embassy to the Holy See. But wait a minute, this is a city, this is not a sea. What the hell is the Holy See? Well, the Holy See is not actual sea, it's CEE, and that is the name for the Vatican. A lot of the countries that are mostly Catholic, like the Philippines, Spain, France, Ireland, a few others, have embassies to the Holy See. One of them being Spain. And Spain has theirs right here. And they build these beautiful steps that raise up right to their embassy. They built this in the 1780s, around 1784, and it comprises of, well, if you count the steps, there's one little thing. If you count the steps, a lot of people say it's 136. It's not 136. Because people are counting one extra step. It's technically not part of the Spanish steps. Designer clothes are not meant to fit normal people. You'd be surprised. I was in the sample sale, and they had larger clothing. So go to the sample stores. When you're going to a city like London, New York, Rome, Paris, probably Tokyo as well, they have sample sales where they sell kind of their clothing that they haven't sold on the store for a quarter of the price. So people usually count 136 steps, but they start with this step right over here. This step predates the Spanish steps. This step is a part of the sewage system of Rome. So you see these steps all around. So it's actually 135 steps up to the Spanish Embassy of the Holy See. Now, speaking of the water system, the Pope wanted to build... they caught someone. No sitting on the Spanish steps. Only standing on the Spanish steps. Only stepping on the Spanish steps. The tourist is making fun of the guard. All right. So, the Pope wanted a massive fountain in honor of these Spanish steps. You know, Spain being one of the larger Catholic countries, and Spain also having large influence over the biggest area of Catholicism in the world, which is South America. He wanted something as grand. And he hired Pietro Bernini. Pietro Bernini was the father of Gian Lorenzo Bernini, the man who's famous for making all these gorgeous sculptures that we've seen at the Galleria Borghese and also St. Peter's Basilica. And his son, Gian Lorenzo, who did all those wonderful sculptures, did a lot of the decorations elements. But they couldn't build a grand fountain on the scale of the Trevi or the many others that we've seen all around, like Repubblica. The reason for that was the water pressure right here in this area is very low. It's very, very low. It's low because we're kind of on a hill. The water has to kind of go on an incline, so it's very low pressure. So Pietro Bernini, Bernini Sr. and Bernini Jr., Bernini Jr. is the more famous one, they had a challenge on their hands. How they're going to make a grand fountain that barely puts out water. So they made some ingenious design. Let's make the fountain look like a sinking ship. And that's what they did. They made the fountain look like a sinking ship, so they didn't need to have huge spouts of water. It could just be low spouts of water. So this is another Bernini fountain. And let's take a walk up the Spanish Steps. And the water looks clean. Yeah, I mean the water for almost all the fountains here are clean as the fountains that you use to drink water from. I'm not entirely sure if you can drink water from the fountains, but they do look as clean. If anyone knows, let us know. Here are the guys looking after no sitting on the Spanish Steps. The reason they couldn't sit on the Spanish Steps is because it's already heavily damaged. And they needed to get financial support from one of the largest fashion houses in all of Rome, of Italy, Bulgari. Bulgari, I think, paid up to upwards of $10 million to restore some of these Spanish Steps, but still in very crappy shape. Hey Gladys, hey Natalia, bienvenidos a las escaleras española, the Spanish Steps in Plaza de España, so the plaza downstairs, which we'll return to. It's called the Spanish Plaza as well. All right, a few more steps. I love that. They're really going hardcore. Luckily, it doesn't seem like they're giving fines, but you can't sit on the Spanish Steps at all. Uh-oh. They're not responding. They're crocking down. So yeah, lots of steps, 135, which is less than the steps it takes to get to the domes that we visited. However, there's no shade in the Spanish Steps, so be sure to be very well hydrated. Always carry a water bottle with you. All right. So here we are, on the top of the Spanish Steps. And another obelisk. Oh, wow. Look at this view. So it is worth it to go up the Spanish Steps.
Everyone's in glitter.
Yes, we can. We're going to go back to the bottom because that's the direction we're heading. There's a little restaurant right there. Also a rooftop bar. That's amazing. It's mandatory that every time you see a church in Rome, we have to walk into it, at least take a glance. Let's take a peek into this church and then go back down the Spanish Steps. This is Trinita dei Monti. More steps, everyone. I hope you have your good walking shoes. Rain also probably damages these steps a lot. The steps have no cover whatsoever. So, yeah, that's probably one of the major factors of why it's deteriorating so quickly. It's constantly on sun because I think it's south-facing, if I'm correct. Yeah, it's south-facing. So the sun tends to hit it almost the entire day. So this is not a Bernini, this is a Wilhelm Theodor. It's a Pieta. So the view is way better up here on top of the steps of the church. And look at that. So that right there is the neighborhood of Prati. We see the Vatican right behind the other dome. That's the dome we passed by earlier. And George, your crazy aunt always made a sign of the cross when she drove past the church. Was it because she was a Christian? Or was it because she was anti-Christian? Sometimes I'm not entirely sure when people do that sign. They do that in Ireland as well. Oh, they do? Okay. So it is a Christian thing. Oh, yeah. Beautiful view. Let's take this in for a few minutes. So remember these 7 hills? Rome was first built upon the 7 hills, and that is the confines of what we know as ancient Rome. Remember that towards the end of this broadcast, because we're going to recall what is the meaning behind these 7 hills and what is the largest ancient Roman monument that encapsulates all of these 7 hills. It's very clean here. Yeah, Rome. I've found Rome to be very clean. They have garbage disposals everywhere. Unlike, say, a city like London, where it is also very clean, but there's almost not that many trash bins. Here, there's trash bins everywhere. And people don't tend to litter. So, yeah, it's been very clean experience coming here in Rome. So there is a museum here. John Keats, famous author, used to live right by the Spanish Steps, right here. If anyone knows any good Keats works, let me know. George, it's not the focus of the camera, it is the lack of service in certain areas, especially when we go inside buildings. It's hard to anticipate where there's good service or not in Italy, since we're in these very old structures. The service does not bounce off too well. And Italy is not known for having the best cell services in general. It's definitely good compared, just in general, good enough. But it's nowhere near on the level of like American cell service. That's why it goes out of focus, but it's not out of focus. It's just it's buffering. But all these videos have been consistently uploading to HD, so you'll be seeing it in crystal clear quality after it's done. So now we're walking down the 135 steps of the Spanish Steps, and let's make our way back to the Via de Corso to head to Piazza de Popolo. Via means street or avenue. I think people don't actually know that you can't sit on the steps. Uh-oh. This woman is sitting on the steps. Uh-oh. I don't think the tourists are too aware of the new rules. They probably saw in movies that they were sitting on the steps.
Słuchajcie.
Nope, it's no longer the case. Good people watching. Love the fashions. Oh yeah, I love Italian fashion. Both men and women have great taste in fashion here. It's very classy. It's like it's hard to describe in words. It's more casual than French, but very classy nonetheless. It's not like the U.S. The U.S. culture tends to be a little bit more out there. You know, a lot more people wear brighter color shirts, or there's always those like completely black clothing. People must go crazy hearing all those whistles all day. Yeah, I feel bad for any very rich residents that live right by the Spanish Steps. So, how did the Spanish Steps get so popular? It was always a big hangout for Italians back in 100 years ago, maybe more than that. Probably since it was built in the 1700s. But it got popular due to one movie that we talked about yesterday in episode 4 of Mysteries of the Eternal City. That is Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck's Roman Holiday. The very first meeting that Gregory Peck has with the princess character of Audrey Hepburn is right here, right by the Spanish Steps. And they go to a cafe that should be located right in this corner, right over there. They sit down, he kind of tries to chat her up, and he orders a cold coffee. And this blew me away because I talked briefly about this in one of my Instagram lives. It blew me away because this was many decades ago. Roman holidays from the late 50s, if I'm correct. I didn't know that cold coffee was a thing before the 2000s, but Gregory Peck ordered it. And what he ordered was a shakerato, which is espresso shaken with ice and served in a martini glass. And I tried it here. It's really good. So if you want to feel like Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn on a Roman holiday, go to one of these cafes around here and get yourself a shakerato, which is espresso shaken with ice, and be right by the Spanish Steps. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why it became a tourist destination, like with many other destinations all around featured in Roman holiday. All right, now let's go to Via del Corso. More very expensive fashion houses here. High end. Lots of Chinese Navy men. If anyone knows why, let me know in the comments. Maybe there's some event happening. A lot of Chinese military for some reason. That's so weird. Dolce & Gabbana. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful store. That's something Audrey Hepburn would wear. And that's something Gregory Peck would wear. We live on frappes in Cyprus. Yes. So whenever I go to Greece, I will talk about the frappe. But yeah, cold coffee foamed with milk is also predates the popularity of cold brew in America as well. So yeah, frappes is a classic drink. Gretchen, you love Bucci. Ooh, wonderful. Looks like a beautiful store. Here's Hogan. This does not strike me as Italian. And let's go back to the Via del Corso. I live on frappes in Cyprus during the summertime. Here's a place where you can get a quick pasta carbonara at Pastifico for only €4. Here's Pompi. I haven't tried this store yet, but they're known for their tiramisu.
Anche mi salutato, a finale adesso anche mi salutato per questa ma se uno perde devo stare a cuore.
Yeah, no eating ice cream at the Spanish Steps whatsoever. Eat ice cream, you will be whistled at. I hate the job of blowing that whistle all day. You know, it's good for the lungs. One of the many side streets in Rome. Denise, thank you for keeping me entertained. Rather watch your adventures than be in the middle of this audit at work. Oh, Denise, I'm glad I can give you some entertainment while we doing the tax audit. Just give the person a pass and just say, oh, yeah, you revised everything. Just watch all my videos. No, I'm just joking. Don't do that. Do your work. It smells really good.
Una pastelería. E quindi io sto
Poi sembra che adesso
Hello, Rocky. Ciao, Carolina. Bienvenuti. Urbanists. These videos are wonderful. Oh, grazie. So right now we're going to head to the Piazza de Popolo, and that's where we're going to learn our final stories for today's tour, broadcast, video, exploration of this beautiful city that is eternal, that will live on forever. 2,000 years old, and it's not looking a day over 500. So here, ladies and gentlemen, is the Via del Corso. Via del Corso runs from the Piazza de Popolo, which is our destination, to a Facebook Live we did a few days ago, Victor Emmanuel Monument. It's a beautiful walk. It connects a lot of the main attractions, Piazza de Popolo being one of them, all the way to Victor Emmanuel, the Pantheon, the Spanish Steps. Trevi Fountain is right by here as well, which we'll be visiting in a different broadcast later on. Let me know, actually, I've been thinking about maybe doing the Trevi Fountain broadcast at night. Let me know if you prefer to see Trevi Fountain at night instead. I'll do something else in the day. Kathy, these videos are wonderful. Ooh, Calcedonia. Ooh, what is a Calcedonia? There's something wrong with this picture. The man is in the wrong city, and also he's using the wrong color. Why is there a white Statue of Liberty? I don't know. And this is very interesting. There's a lot of military kind of stands all around Rome. One of the other questions I have while walking around. Oh, one story I actually wanted to tell about the Spanish Steps is, well, probably used to be the cafe that was featured in Roman Holiday, ended up becoming a McDonald's. And when it opened up in 1990, 1991, there was a protest of 100,000 people saying that an American fast food chain is going to ruin Roman culture, Italian culture. And they didn't all want to open it. Nonetheless, McDonald's, having all the power it does, opened nonetheless. Oh, Calcedonia is a store. Okay, The people have spoken. The popolare have spoken. We are going to Trevi at night, probably during the weekend. Stay tuned. Actually, I can't go on the weekend. Stay tuned probably on Thursday night. This is a nice street because it's closed off during the daytime. So you could just walk around unencumbered by too many cars. Here there's more popular medium-end stores like Sephora, I mean. And here is another church. Let's take a peek. The scheme is part of policing called Strade Security, Safe Streets, launched in 2008, a part of the broader governmental issues to fight crime in various cities of Italy. Over time, with terrorist attacks becoming very serious, the Vatican City has also become very sensitive targets. Oh, thank you for clarifying, Donna. That's why there's a lot of soldiers. So here is Ontario Santa Mesa. We haven't reached the 3 Santa Marias yet. Stay tuned. Wow. Just love the churches here. So many all around. But brace yourselves because where we're going to end is a church with another Bernini, another Caravaggio, another Raphael. Here's Padre Pio, probably one of the most famous saints right now in Italy. Or Santo Pio, if I'm correct. Look at these beautiful frescoes that pop out of the architecture. It's made by Ettore Ballerini and it's called Prophets and Angels. I agree, the churches here are gorgeous. I love the music every time you enter a church in Rome. Yeah, I really like that they play music in churches in Rome. Here we have another church. Let's take a peek. So this is Santo Il Cibo, a little child dressed up in Spanish royalty.
Grazie.
Okay, now we are walking towards Piazza de Popolo. In the distance, we see one of the major obelisks here in Rome. We've seen a bunch of obelisks so far. A lot of them tend to be about half the size of this one. This is amongst the larger ones. And that was a stunner. Yeah, a beautiful church. Just wait until we go to Santa Maria de Popolo at the end. Because I just saw one of the most stunning paintings I've seen so far on my trip to Rome. Hans! Prego, prego, Hans. Smells good. A lot of stores are pumping out perfume. Now here is Banco Nazionale de Agricultura, which is the National Bank of Agriculture. But I just want to show you how a lot of these buildings have gorgeous sculptures inside. So there's a whole other Rome within the courtyards of all these apartment buildings, which are not accessible by the public. Here's the place where I was talking about. There's a sample sale. Really cool sample sale. Got myself 2 scarves for only €10 each. It seemed like you were time traveling when you stepped out of the church, enjoying people walking on the street in the modern clothes. Indeed, yeah. There's kind of that. The church, a lot of these churches really envelop you in their majesty and their beauty. And since they're way older than most churches you would see in London, Paris, and New York City, of course, there is that extra factor of like, you're walking into these churches that are more than 500 years old. Sometimes, as we saw in the past few episodes, almost 1,600 years old. George, you can no, there's no timestamps. That's a limitation of Facebook Live. However, you can always like scroll back and forth. Generally find your way. My live videos are not too long, so you generally find what I'm talking about very quickly. So here is Piazza de Popolo, which means the Plaza of the People. It was made by Pope Sixtus V. He was known, Sixtus IV, he was known as the master planner of Rome. It was kind of like a Robert Moses figure or a George Eugen Haussmann figure for Rome. One of the very few people who took an initiative to completely redesign a lot of the streets of Rome and widen certain streets so we have a better flow of traffic and a better flow also for the army. And that's why he made this Piazza de Popolo, opening up the two doorways of this archway, which we're going to see soon, and making this main road Via de Corso. However, there is not one Santa Maria here. There is two Santa Maria churches, but there's also three Santa Maria churches in this one plaza. If you've been seeing the past few episodes, you probably noticed at this point that we've been going to maybe one or two Santa Maria churches every single episode. Every single episode there's been at least one Santa Maria church. For some reason there's Santa Marias all around Rome. Rome really loves the Virgin Mary. However, why is there two Santa Marias? These are twin Santa Marias that were partly worked on by Bernini, Gian Lorenzo Bernini, who redesigned some certain aspects of these twin churches as the grand entranceway to the Via Corso. Al lado hay un parque muy lindo, sí, también está cerca del Parque Borghese. Right now we're very close to the Parque Borghese, and there's another like smaller park here as well. I wish I can go into this church. It seems like it's closed. I was aiming to go in. And if anyone can let me know what the time is right now, because I hope we're just in time for the Santa Maria de Popolo to open up again. Let's see if we can go inside. No, it's closed. Okay, so let's see if we can go into Santa Maria de Popolo. These churches sometimes close an hour or two during the day. I went to this cafeteria, cafe, really good, Cafe Canova. At the bar, the espresso, of course, is only €1, but I don't think sitting down is probably not that expensive. So you might not notice it yet, but what we're looking at is the largest remnant of ancient Rome in the entire city. It's right behind these archways, and it's called the Appian Wall. It's a wall that was built all around Rome around 400 AD. Now, why was it built? Well, actually, the ancient Romans prided themselves. My mistake, I meant to say 200 AD. The Romans prided themselves on being a city that didn't need any walls. They couldn't attack ancient Rome. Felt very sure of themselves. However, the Vandals, who were from the Gaul area, came and attacked northern Italy. They were ransacking town and city after city all along the northern border of Italy. They were also scared that the Visigoths would also attack, as the Gauls and the Celts attacked many centuries prior. So the emperor of the time decided to build a huge wall encompassing all the 7 hills of Rome. And he did. It's 1630. Oh, cool. Okay. So that means I think we're just right in time to go into Santa Maria del Popolo. I'll show you the wall after the church. Here's more of the obelisk. What I really like about those obelisks is that you can still see the hieroglyphics. Unlike, unfortunately, the Cleopatra's Needle in New York City or the one in London, where they're almost purely erased due to weather. The weather is a bit drier here in Rome. So here we can see all the hieroglyphics. Cuando fui, estaban cerradas. Nunca puede entrar. Oh, qué flojo que no podía entrar a las iglesias. And it's a shame that you can't enter the churches. Tiene que ver el horario. Usualmente está posteado a frente. Y usualmente solo cierran como 1 o 2 horas cada día. Usually the times are posted in front. And they usually only close for 1 hour or 2 per day. So yeah, it's open. People are going in. So I'm going to show you Appian Wall, and we're going to end at the Santa Maria de Popolo. It doesn't look much from the outside because it's being restored from the outside, but inside, just you wait, because we're going to see possibly one of the most beautiful paintings made in the Baroque era. I already said that a few times, but I already said that with one particular painter who was a notorious man on the run. But before we do, here, if you go continue that way, you'll hit the neighborhood Prati and then hit Vatican. And then right here is the Arc de Popolo. Hey, Irene, welcome. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is a part of the Appian Wall. Appian Wall is the largest ancient Roman ruin. It covers a huge swath of modern day Rome. You can still find it underneath certain buildings. There's still remnants all around, and still whole sections like we see here. Here we have another gateway to, I think, Villa Borghese. Yeah, this is a gateway to Villa Borghese, which is the Borghese Park. Inside the park, there's the Galleria Borghese. Good morning, Linda. All right, everyone. So, today we're going to visit, for a final stop, another beautiful Santa Maria. But this one has a painting from the man on the run that we talked about earlier, painting the ordeal of the man who inspired St. Peter's Basilica, a painting of St. Peter's execution. Let's go inside to Santa Maria del Popolo. So welcome to Santa Maria del Popolo. This church was also built by Pope Sixtus, who wanted to kind of open up the city of Rome, make it an easier place to live. He was the grand urban planner. However, he ended up getting this financial backing of a few major bankers and families of Italy, and they patronized some of our most famous artists that we learned about so far, and we're going to see them very soon. Is one of the most treasured mosaics of Madonna and Child. Probably one of the earliest ones ever found, dating somewhere around 300 AD. So every time you see one of these, it means that they're buried right underneath their crypts, if you can't tell from the skull. Also, let me show you this thing that actually passed by that really I haven't seen in the church yet, aside from the Capuchin crypts. Actual human skull, maybe? It doesn't look quite real, but who knows? Is it real? So part of this church was designed by Bernini. He designed this nave. Gian Lorenzo Bernini, the more famous Bernini, the son. And ladies and gentlemen, let's go to Caravaggio. So here is one of the most famous paintings in all of Christendom. The man who was on the run, the infamous Caravaggio, and the trial of St. Peter. Now, Caravaggio is one of the most famous painters of all Italian history. He's known for making these very dark, dramatic, in-your-face scenes from religious history. And here's one of St. Peter being crucified. He's being crucified in reverse because he did not dare to be crucified the same way as his Lord Jesus Christ. However, it's not a harsh crucifixion. You can see that the men aren't really there as a vendetta. They almost look like laborers. They probably were modeled after real laborers of the time. And Caravaggio was known for kind of showing the real grittiness of these religious scenes. They used to be depicted kind of in this Renaissance way, very light and transcendent and bright. But with Caravaggio, you see the dirt, you see the grime, like the dirt you see on his foot right there. Also, the entire painting makes this kind of cross shape. And it's interesting, the angle he does it in. Again, Renaissance is very straight, very steady. But Baroque is wild, it's there in movement, flying at us. For more Caravaggio, watch my broadcast, the very first episode with the Pantheon. And here's another Caravaggio. Caravaggio's ghost has struck again. Like when I was at the Galleria Borghese and showing his very last painting of a decapitated Goliath's head held by David. The head decapitated was Caravaggio's own. My signal went out exactly at that moment. The lights went out exactly as I showed you. This other painting, Caravaggio, still lingering in his ghostly form, not wanting us to see his paintings. Is he ashamed? Is he wanting to come back to life? Who knows? Highly recommend when you come here, you pay €2 to see about 10 to 15 minutes worth of video, and they have in like 5 languages, so highly worth it. I'll show you one more time as the lights came back on. So I was just joking about the ghost. You have to pay €1 to put on the lights. This is depicting St. Paul. Oh, sorry. I'll try and speak a little bit louder. It's a little bit hard in these environments. I will respect the silence. So yeah, I'll try to put the mic closer. But now let's see Bernini. Try to speak like this. Speak very close. So I mentioned that there were bankers that helped Pope Sixtus to repair a lot of these places in the city and build this church. One such banker was this guy, Angelino. Is he buried here? No, Caravaggio is not buried here. I don't know where Caravaggio is buried. That I don't know. Maybe in his own town, because Caravaggio was nicknamed Caravaggio. His real name was Michelangelo de Medici. He was named Caravaggio after living most of his early life in that town of Caravaggio. So maybe he's buried there. So this guy gave the money to Bernini to build this church and make this beautiful painting and these sculptures. Jackie, thanks for the beautiful tour. I was here last October, and this brings wonderful moments, memories from that trip. Mónica, gran Caravaggio, gracia, pintor de los santos, de manera real, con arrugas, agotas, ancianos de manos y pies. Con señales de mucho caminar y trabajar, santos de dáneles. Por eso el principal no fue tan bien aceptado. So, gracias Mónica por ese comentario. Sí, Caravaggio es un maestro de la pintura. What Monica said is that Caravaggio truly painted with grit, with grime. You see the laborers, you see the sweat on the people's faces, you see the veins on St. Peter. We're no longer looking at the painting, but you can look at the replay or see a photo on it on Google Maps. But this is a cool painting because here, yet again, we are kind of fooled by the eye to see that this transept might be way larger than it is because it looks like it extends on forever. And there's a gift shop. Oh, who is the Raphael? So the Raphael actually are the mosaics. You can barely see it. This is very dark. But up there is the Holy Father reaching his hands towards us. And that's made by Raphael. But the interesting thing is that he painted it, but these are not paintings, these are mosaics. So he had a person in his team to translate it into mosaic. Fortunately, it's very dark right now, so we can't see it. And I don't think there's a switch for the light. No. It says Nekiv Elisi Muerte Vivos. I'm not sure what that means. Thank you everyone so much for watching this grand tour of Piazza de Popolo, Villa del Corso, and the Ara Pacías. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned every day at 3 p.m. Rome time, 9 a.m. New York City time for history videos all around the city. Tomorrow, we'll be probably going to the Capitoline Museum on the 16th, early on the 16th. I'm going to do a special broadcast in the Coliseum, but earlier in the day. So put on your notifications. But later in the day, at the normal time, we're going to go to the Forum, the Roman Forum, where all these gorgeous ancient Roman structures are located, and we're going to learn about Julius Caesar and a few of the other emperors. And then later on, we're going to visit Trajan's Market another day, and then also we're going to visit Palatine Hill. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed that beautiful work of Caravaggio. I think that wraps up our story about Caravaggio. It pretty much wraps up our story of Bernini. Now let's move on deeper into history, to ancient Rome, these upcoming few days. Keep being awesome and always keep on exploring. Arrivederci, amici. Ciao, amici.